Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to this other edition of Prime Hour on my Media Prime. This evening, we're going to play prolongation as teachers in Cameroon and across other nations has celebrated the Teachers' Day yesterday. We are going to be zooming in at this topic, which says that we are sizing the place of a teacher in Cameroon today. Are they still considered persons exercising within a noble profession? Do they still see them as the mind molders of our communities? And also are going to be looking at the quality of the teachers themselves. Do they command the respect that they deserve? We also are going to be looking at many other things relating to the profession of a teacher in Cameroon. We're discussing on this with our panelists who are in the house already. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa is our permanent consultant. We're glad to have you with us this evening.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, my co-panelist, Prof Mac. Welcome to this very important topic. Teachers are the foundations for every other destiny in life, and we must give them the respect that they deserve. And I think today we're going to be talking about teachers detailedly and their place in the society.
We also in the company of Professor Mac Anthony Akumbom. We're glad to have you with us. You've been away for some time.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Good evening to Cameroonians watching at us and to Africans around the world. I also want to say good evening to Prof Apostle Ambe, who is with me here, and to other panelists who will be joining us soon. I think this topic is one of the best topics to discuss on today, because being a teacher is one of those professions, or say, I should use the word, vocations, which should not be underplayed with. It should not be underlooked, neither should we joke with, because that is the foundation on which many other professions are actually molded from. That is where a lot of minds are drilled from. So we are going to be talking about it, and I think that it is time for us to learn more about who a teacher is.
We are also expecting Dr. Nick Ngwanyam as well as Prince Joel to join us in the course of this program. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, we are sizing the place of a teacher in Cameroon today comparatively. Where would you place teachers in Cameroon?
Yes, if we want to rank them at the level of civil servants, the teachers to me are the first-class civil servants and the most important category of civil servants we are supposed to have in this country. And I think that is what Rwanda has done to its civil servants. And I think Cameroon has to copy from that. But it's not the case here, because to me, teachers, first and foremost, are people most of the times who have sacrificed going further in education. Most of them have dropped their ambitions to stay back and then build the next generation. Secondly, teachers are people who are constantly students. They have to constantly be reading every day in order to teach, just like students are reading every day in order to pass exams. It is a job that makes you a student for life and is too demanding. Thirdly, the rank of teachers fall within secondary, primary, nursery, as well as university. Even though we give them different names as tutors, lecturers, and then professors and the rest, but they all fall under teachers. And if you look at it critically, the amount of time they put, the job first and foremost is very tedious. The job is demanding, because somebody said clearing for 8 hours equivalent to talking for 1 hour. And a teacher talks for at least 8 hours every day. That is too demanding. So somebody can clear a piece of land for 1 hour, he will for 8 hours, he will not be as exhausted as a teacher who has spoken in class for 2 hours. The worst of it is the teachers who are training these pupils in primary school and nursery schools. It doesn't only go with teaching. You have to shout, you have to complain, you have to drag the children, you have to clean their pool. I mean, as somebody who owns a school, sometimes I go around And I cannot really appreciate the amount of money we pay teachers because it's not equivalent to the kind of labor they offer as far as institutions are concerned. And I think that subject should be looked into both from the private as well as the civil service. Because I think that if there is a particular tariff put for proprietors of private schools not to cross to pay teachers, then I think the teaching profession will be given a little respect. But to the best of my understanding, it has to take your passion, it has to take your compassion for teachers to pay them at a certain rate, considering the fact that there is no particular barème that has been put by the state for the private sector to pay teachers. Coming to the state, also civil servants who are teachers, you will hear that somebody has been recruited, very excited. Sometimes they are posted in communities where there is no water, there is no light, witchcraft is the order of the day. And then you may go to that community and you are working, before you realize the little money you have to earn, you will spend all on sickness because of mosquitoes, because of poor water, and other things put together. So it's really a work and a sacrifice that most teachers do when it comes to serving their nation, serving their communities. We have seen a lot of teachers have paid so much price when it comes to the issue of the crisis we have had in the country. And I can tell you most teachers are most of the times exposed to dangers when crises hit nations, because other persons may stop, businesses may stop, markets may shut down, but they will tell you that schools must continue. And the teacher is exposed to the flying bullets, the grenades, and the hazardous situation that sometimes people go through. So we really have to respect teachers and give them as a number one category citizens in every country.
Yes, Apostle Ambe Valentine wants teachers to be given pride of place as far as professional rankings are concerned in Cameroon. Is that where they are positioned today?
It is actually funny because when you look at teachers or the teaching profession in Cameroon, it seems as if it is the least of professions in Cameroon. You get to start asking the question if those actually concerned do understand what it means to be a teacher. You see, when Nelson Mandela made his famous statement, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, I think that on making that statement, he had gone through a series of educational processes to come to that place. Why? If you get to understand that our world, our communities, our societies actually get transformed through education, then you try to understand the important place in which a teacher holds in the society. But when we look at what is happening, I want to talk of Cameroon, you get to start asking questions. Do we consider teachers to be of that value? I remember when we were growing up, being a teacher was making you a demigod, where you look at a teacher, the way he is respected in the community, the way, in fact, their presence had a kind of aura that permitted you to know that there is something that makes the teaching vocation different. But today it is different. Why? When you look at Cameroon, I just want to take for example, I have a daughter who is in upper 16 years old. In fact, just imagine that by the time she's done and she's going to ENS, when she's leaving ENS after 3 years, she should be about 19 years. If you send that child to go and teach, I don't think that there will be respect in that particular aspect of it. So there gets to be a problem. But why are they rushing to teach? They are now not rushing to teach because they see teaching as a vocation, but they see it as a job. But I think that teaching is supposed to be a vocation that comes from within, that permits that, in fact, it should be a passion that pushes an individual to want to share out knowledge. And once you have that passion, you should then go for the training. Such individuals will have a difference in the way they dish out knowledge. But because it is made a job today for the fact that we have, I will say this, Mr. Leo, in Cameroon, we have need for teachers. And so anybody now can become a teacher. And so as a result of that, even the salaries that are paid to teachers have been cut down. You see, if you remember, in 1992, the salaries of teachers were cut down into two. And from that time to now, it has not been increased. The question you should be asking is, who are those who contribute the highest in our communities? Realize these teachers are the ones contributing in our communities. But what is happening? Why should they pay them as if they are slaves? The worst are those who are teaching in private schools. Teaching in private schools, if somebody will look at you, might be because he sees that you are desperate. He takes you and gives you maybe 50,000 francs to teach for, in fact, 8 hours a day, multiplied for a week. That is exploitation of the highest order. And tell me how you have the best of education out there. You can't have the best education given to children, because those who have been handpicked to be teachers were handpicked to fill the position of a job, and because of their hunger. And as long as you get into the teaching vocation because of hunger, because of your stomach, you can never actually dish out the best of knowledge. And that is why today, Mr. Leo, we have even doctors who graduate from universities who are still striking on the streets because they have not truly been educated. Okay,
they have not been educated. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, why would you consider teachers as being very important? A stance that I share also, yet they are not given that position. They are not considered as the most important in our communities. What would account for that in Cameroon?
You know, Mr. Leo, there are some very important professions that have been given a kind of description. The description you give to something will either add or reduce the value.
Okay.
When you hear somebody say, I'm a doctor, automatically you are being swept off your legs. That this man is an important personality. I'm an accountant. I am a pilot. I am an engineer. You will hardly hear somebody say, I am a teacher. But when people want to add to their name, you never hear that teacher Prince, but here Dr. Prince, Professor Prince, Engineer Prince, Accountant Prince, Minister Prince, Honorable Prince, President, His Excellency Prince, Governor. So the appellation of that name teacher has been reduced to a group of persons who are just there to transmit information. We have not discovered their role, their essence, and their importance in the society. We have described them or valued them based on the name. The name teacher sounds very local. The name teacher sounds very common. But there are names that if you mention, even if they are offering nothing in the society, you get already intimidated. He is a professor. A professor. He is a doctor. Doctor. He is an engineer. He is a barrister. He is an accountant. He is a governor. He is a minister. So the kind of description, but the truth is, all those people we have mentioned like this are made by teachers. Now, the foundation of every building is what sustains every other part of that building. And I believe we have to put Cameroon as a nation, build as a structure. The foundation of this nation, Cameroon, is the teaching. That's right. And teachers. Because every other person you will see tomorrow as a structure or a part of that building completely erected came from the root of a teacher. From primary school to secondary school to university, these people are the ones who built the governors, the senators, the parliamentarians, the doctors, the magistrates, the engineers, the state councils, even the president. And now we forget where we came from. We forget that foundation that built us to know if I'm able to talk today, it's thanks to my teacher. It's not thanks to my landlord. It's not thanks to my mother. For your information, children believed their teachers more than their parents. When you hear a child don't say, I will tell your teacher, the child will change immediately. Because in the mind of that child, this is a man that has caused me to see the light of the day. I am the one, I learned A from him, B from him, K from him. So you realize that there is a kind of recognition by children in the minds of children concerning teachers. But now, the way we have been able to categorize the responsibility of a teacher, it looks like they are instead, they are, how do I put it, mats, door mats, rather than being foundation. Yes. They look like door mats when we clean our legs to enter the house. But they are supposed to be given the people a foundation. Because that is what sustains every other, name it as you want to call it in the country. So, to me, it is the way we have categorized the teaching office in the country. And that's the reason why people don't have respect for it. For instance, you go to primary school in Cameroon, a teacher earns at most 130,000. I mean, government teacher with a matrical number, he earns at least 130,000. You go to secondary school, teacher earns at least 200, depending on how many years you have worked, 250, 280, 300. University, you start with 750,000 as a lecturer in university. Yes. That's the amount of money they pay, 750. I'm sure doctors and lecturers are following this program. They are people the amount they pay them per month.
Small.
Now,
Small.
yes, when you look at the amount of money they pay, because first and foremost, your salary will determine the value of your job. The kind of money we pay. Number two, the protocol attached to teachers are very poor. You go and see an HM's office in a primary school. It looks like a store in Marché Central. But you go to a governor's office, there are military forces standing everywhere. And then you have AC everywhere, protocol everywhere. That gives an impression that the governor is a very high status. You go to a staff room, which at least 6 to 7 teachers come there and mark their logbook. You will realize that the staff room looks like a store in Machine Bopi, where teachers come and gather. So the structure put in place does not even give the nobility of the job. You cannot walk into a governor's office or walk into a magistrate's office or you walk into a minister's office and see the place look like that of a headmistress office or a principal's office. There is no dignity. So if you look at the protocol attached to it and the salary attached to it, it does not give it the weight that it deserves. Continue, the next thing you discover is that sometimes these teachers, they don't have other privileges. The way a governor would dress and come to his office and the protocol that is attached to him tells you that he's a big man. Sometimes a teacher will put on but sandals. He was a student, and when coming to teach, he still looks like a student because the finance given to him does not give him dressing allowance that can make him look responsible. You will never see a headmistress being escorted into a school campus like how a governor, a DO goes to the office. But all those governors and DO are products of this HM and teachers. That's the problem. And now, when you go back again, you look at the teaching job, sometimes a teacher will leave class after teaching. You look at his attire, he leaves the school, he's dirtier than when he came in the morning. Now, when you put at all this protocol and the finances and the respect and the dignity attached to the job, you will realize that the job does not have the honor, the nobility, and the decorum that it deserves. Yet, it is the most important job.
It is the most important job. Good evening, Mr. Liu. A teacher has no place in Cameroon. The profession has been abused in Cameroon by charlatans who join the profession not because they have passion for it. Is that not also a key problem faced by this corps?
Mr. Lewis, like I said earlier, that the teaching profession, or should I use the word vocation, because I like to use that word vocation, is supposed to be a passion. It is supposed to be the purpose of an individual's life. Once it is for the sake of having money, then it becomes another thing. You see, I am not saying that teachers are not supposed to be paid. In fact, they are supposed to be paid the highest in every community. In fact, they are supposed to be the highest paid, I should repeat that, in any community. But to join the teaching vocation, it is not supposed to be because you are hungry. It should be because you have the passion to transmit knowledge. You have the passion to transform young minds. You have the passion to actually create change in the world. Once that becomes your drive, it is the manner in which you engage it becomes different. But look at it today. A lot of young people get engaged in it because they want to have a matricule number. They are not joining the teaching field because they feel like it is a sacred profession or a vocation which they need to engage their time to transform the minds of young people. And so as a result of that, like the young man, the individual who actually said charlatans are the ones who have destroyed. Yeah, charlatans join every field. In every field there are charlatans. But what should motivate you to engage in a particular field in life should be your passion, or let me use the word, it should be the based on your purpose. I know a lot of persons do not even understand what we are talking about purpose. When you are driven by your ambition, Mr. Leo, when you are driven by ambition, it becomes practically difficult for you to engage in that field to help. You are engaging in it because of what you want. And then worst of it today, the Cameroon government has made that particular teaching vocation to become useless, where there is no particular financial, let me use the word like
but there's no way to prove that the Cameroon government has made the teaching
there is a way to prove, because I want to say this.
You may want to say that the government
the slash
is not doing
of salary, well, the slash of salary back then, I think there is no nation that thinks of progress that slashes down the salary of teachers.
The government was responding to an injunction, I'm sure, from the respecting the structural adjustment plan. Yes, that's the instructions. Yeah.
You see,
and that happened across the board.
Mr. Leo, it is a problem when leadership of a nation is dictated by foreigners. We believe that what will transform Cameroon is the teaching field. Education is what is going to bring transformation in this nation.
Okay.
And I think that the government should focus in encouraging education in every ramification.
Now,
and as a result of that, Mr. Leo, it implies that teachers their salaries should be raised, and they should be paid what will provoke them to get to school and spend their time to teach. Most of them get there because they do not have something else.
I want to stay with you for, I'm sure, 2 more minutes. You say that the government is supposed to push and drive up the status of teachers. Let's assume that the government has failed because of bad faith. Let's look at the private sector. We have most of these schools. To get into these schools, you pay
hundreds of thousands.
Fees ranging from 200, 300, 400, 500,000 francs. There are schools in Yaoundé, even in Douala here, not far from here, where parents pay 1 million francs for kids in primary school. We have these higher professional institutions that are almost everywhere. Are the teachers better taken care of? Because if we assume that the government is failing, what are the individuals, the common Cameroonian business person or educationist, how are they treating teachers?
Mr. Leo, I'll come back to this point. The referee, the person who actually places the rules on how teaching or might be a labor should be employed, is not the private sector, as the government. And so if these individuals are exploiting young Cameroonians who want to make teaching a career, it is because we do not have that particular should I say particular well-structured organogram,
a mechanism that monitors,
push them to actually respond to the needs of their teachers. And so I think that I am not in a way, Mr. Leo, trying to put the blame completely on the government. I'm simply saying that there is need for more to be done than it has been done, because if we expect to use education as that basic tool to bring transformation in this country, then it is necessary for us to understand the important place in which the teacher holds, and we should give them that upliftment. We should uplift them. Pay a teacher in a way where when he enters a class, that should be the only thing he's thinking.
Granted, the mechanism and follow-up is not there, but I'm sure it should be there, because we have respective regional delegations of secondary education at the regional level. We have divisional delegations. We also have the sub-divisional delegations. We also have regional labor inspectors that are supposed to look into that. But even if these structures are not there, as an individual, do you, an individual who might have been taught by teachers, do you need to be reminded that you should accord this status or place to teachers? Because I know some schools here in Douala where teachers are well taken care of.
Mr. Ando, there's greed in this thing. You should know that there are a lot of those who get involved in trying to open schools for the sake of making money. They don't care about the individuals they are employing to teach in their schools. Well, all they need is their money. And so at the end of the day, they exploit these young people. And so I would say there's greed also involved in this thing. And so even as, like you mentioned, as an individual, I think that you should also think of the state in which the person you are bringing in to teach the children of people whom you collect much money from them. You should think on the state on which that individual, his mental state, his psychological state. You think of even his physical state. When he's in a classroom, how is he supposed to be? But if you don't pay him well, I'm certain at the end of the day, those children that you've collected much money to be able to teach them will not be well taught, because you didn't also take good care of the teacher. And so I think that even the employers, or those who are proprietors of schools, like Apostle Ambe, who is seated with us here, we should think on how to pay these teachers well, not only waiting that the government should put in place the mechanisms needed, but we as individuals should have the consciousness that these individuals need to be well paid, well taken care of, for them to take care of the students and the people. So at the end of the day, you see, Mr. Leo, the blame does not fall only on the government. It falls on even the private sector, those who are creating schools. What are they doing to maintain or to give the teacher the particular dignity that he needs in a community?
Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, Prof Mac raised an issue of saying that if you were to become a teacher and hoping to make money, then you missed the profession, or you missed your way, and that it should be considered as a calling and not necessarily a place where we should go and make our money. Is that not why teachers are going through what they are doing? For example, we have catechists in most of these our churches. You see a father would live and barely survive with his children, because they think that as a catechist he should not live a good life, he is working for God. Is that not also what people think of teachers, that you are there to form people? If other professions or professionals, like you talked about a barrister and that, if they can live so well from their services, because a teacher is rendering a service, building minds, building nations, and should teachers not actually be considered as one of those who should lead very good lives?
The truth is, an uncomfortable teacher cannot deliver knowledge effectively.
Impossible.
I'm sure the persons who are the ones imparting knowledge to the next generation should be catered for, properly given attention, and be treated very well. If not, I'm telling you, they are going to do it in a disorganized manner. Do you know there are teachers who work with the government and they don't go into the school campus sometimes in a week? Oh yes. When they calculate the cost they are going to spend for transport and feeding, they stay them back at home. And sometimes there's nobody there to pursue and check if they are coming to school or not. As much as I own a school, we also send children to schools, to government schools. And we can tell you that there are teachers who don't even show up sometimes in school. And they may have their many reasons why they don't show up. Probably the cost of living is too expensive for them to be coming to school almost every day. If we say that teaching is a vocation, it is true. But who are doing a vocation also eat. And they have responsibilities. They have bills. That you answer a vocation does not mean that you are exempted from the numerous bills we have in the society. A teacher who has taken teacher as a vocation has electric bill. Electric bill is not a vocation. Water bill is not a vocation. Children's school fees is not a vocation. Neither is your house rent a vocation. Your health equally is not something you will say because you have taken teaching as a vocation. No matter what you take as vocation in life, you must have a means of livelihood, because after all we say and do, at the end, there are some things that will be staring us in the face. Your electric bill will be staring you in the face. It won't mind if what you are doing is a vocation, a calling, or an assignment. It will face you. Your children's education, your health, your children's health, feeding in the house. I mean, thinking of even settling in your own house tomorrow to get a piece of land. Those things are realities that no matter your vocation in life, you cannot underplay or underlook them. That's a reality. So we should give the teachers the attention because they have given themselves completely. For instance, a child goes to school in the morning by 7 o'clock, and sometimes they close by 2:30, 3 o'clock. How much time do they have left again to come back home, prepare lessons, and prepare for the next day? It's very complicated. Coming to the private sector, it's easier for us to tell providers to pay teachers. But you must understand that that one is based on your input. Proprietors don't harvest money from trees. You recruit teachers. Teachers come to school, they cannot bring in pupils. If they cannot, yes, they can't bring in pupils. If they don't bring in pupils, where do you pay people? The government doesn't give proprietors money to pay teachers. It doesn't give them money also to pay bills of the school. And you must understand that schools pay taxes, schools pay insurance, and schools pay money also to the inspectorate as well as a duke. All those bills are responsibilities of proprietors, and it comes from the children's school fees. Now, if the teachers themselves will not work to bring in more people because their salaries are tight, sometimes there are proprietors who are forced to go and borrow money to pay for teachers because the amount of pupils in the school cannot provide the money that will pay the teachers throughout the year.
Yeah, but is that not supposed to have been taken care of even before opening the school? Are you hoping that, okay, we will make money from the children before paying the teachers?
School is a business.
Okay.
If you expect me to go and carry some money and put somewhere and be paying teachers who are not working, then what am I doing with it? People who open school campuses are business people. Nobody should try to twist it here. And they are going to be eating. In
applying for the creation of a school, what is the key objective? The objective is to help
build children, yes, build the minds of the next generation.
Do people tell the government that this is part of business I want to do?
No, they don't tell the government it's as part of business. But the government knows it's business.
Okay.
Of course. If it's not business, do you collect tax from what? They collect tax in business, Mr. Leo. Why do they collect tax? They collect tax from business. Schools pay tax. Why do they collect insurance? They collect insurance from businesses. Why do they collect all the fees, the bills, that the charges they pay for each people in school? It's business. The inspectorate collects money. The private secretariat called Sejuk collects money. Insurance for the children given out. Tax from MPO is being paid. So if I thought they are collecting tax, what is it, Prof?
That's always been business.
It's business. Do they collect tax for something that's not business? What I will try to twist it here is business. And who goes for any bidder that will not profit? They will profit.
Yeah, but the impression you give Apostle is that most teachers are not taken care of because the schools are not making enough profit.
That's not my conclusion.
Okay.
I'm saying that in some situations,
okay,
if the teachers cannot put in the required labor to get the result, they might not even get the salary.
So what you are telling us is that when teachers are recruited to get into a school, they are expected to go out there and bring students.
Yes, no, that is part of their responsibility.
That should be a crime.
When should they prepare notes and teach children? And
no, this campaign is done before school resumes.
Okay, they become commercial agents
within the month of June, July, August. I'm talking to you as a school provider. I'm not going to hide anything yet. Why they choose it? They carry out campaign to bring in people in the school because it's a competitive market. There are schools almost everywhere scattered. So you have to drag people from header scatter to bring them to your own so they can be able to put in your school. If you don't drag them and bring them, what do you expect to get money? Who will go and be investing in a school business and borrowing money and pay people where he has nothing to gain? Can you do that kind of business? Who will do that kind of business? Nobody can do that kind of business. Because even if the government comes to collect the rent, the tax of the school, and there's no company, they will close down the school. So don't tell me that some proprietor will do and create a school because the vocation and begin to borrow money from bank and be paying teachers. They will lock you in your entire generation. It's simple as ABC. So the earlier we understand that these teachers also are going to be paid based on their input, it matters a lot. I know many people don't like what I'm saying, but that's the reality.
It's very, very dangerous.
Yesterday we saw many teachers celebrating across Cameroon. Many celebrated late into the night. Prof, I don't know whether you were invited to join in the celebration, but we have lived it before this aspect got stopped with the advent of COVID-19. For the past 3 years, they have not been celebrating, but this year there were celebrations everywhere. What are they actually celebrating?
Mr. Dio, the Teacher's Day is a day that the teacher takes aside. It's not supposed to be a day where you use in actually just going around to celebrate. It is supposed to be a day where you take, should I say, you sit down like an accountant, then you take stock of, should I use the word inventory, of how the past year has been and how you are about to engage the next year, because most schools around the world actually either starts July, September, August. I mean September, October, I beg your pardon. So during this period, before the school year begins, it is necessary for a teacher to sit down and take stock of the way his year went through, for him to be able to know where he needs to build up, for him to be able to understand where he failed last year that he can adjust, and also to use it as a period of reflection. I want to use those words because today, when you look at the whole issue, it has become a day where we go partying, drinking, and end up with nothing to actually put on the ground to say that, okay, this is the way my year went and this is where I am right now. At the end of the day, their celebration is practically useless. But the Teacher's Day is a day kept for the teacher to be able to reflect on himself, to reflect on his job.
When you say it's practically useless, isn't it also very important for teachers from time to time to sit together as colleagues, also play, and possibly that is when they exchange with their bosses, the proprietors, and they exchange, meet some other persons, and maybe share between schools. Isn't it also very important?
Yeah, there are meetings like that. There are meetings like that. You see, teachers gather. They talk with their proprietors in schools. Sometimes they are all invited as SEDUC. SEDUC is a private secretariat for education. They are invited there, talk upon them. Trainings are even carried for teachers to empower them from time to time. Now, if it is to upgrade teachers from time to time, trainings are always carried. For sometimes I bring experts in my school to upgrade my teachers. Sometimes they go to Sejuk. Sejuk organizes seminars that empower teachers and teach them the new curriculum and also new pedagogy. But when it comes to the issue of finances, it is the proprietors who have the sole right to decide the amount of money they negotiate with the teacher. This is where the government has to come in. Like in some countries, there's a particular rate you cannot pay an ordinary worker below that rate. If at all, like in Nigeria, there was a time they said 18,000 naira was the least money you can pay, even a gateman or a cook. Whether you are employing from where in Nigeria, you must pay this amount of money. Now, if we put a particular limit that teachers should not be paid at the private sector in this standard, then the government also on their part increases the salaries of teachers. It's going to help the situation. When we say we follow structural adjustment program in Cameroon, that structural adjustment program is all over Africa. Côte d'Ivoire took primary school teachers' salary from 260 to 390, and secondary school teachers from 410 to 540,000. Did not see structural adjustment program. Rwandan teachers are being paid 3 times than Cameroonian teachers. So when we are talking about structural adjustment program, the structural adjustment program should not touch only Cameroon. It should touch everywhere. If they are cutting down salaries for teachers, they should also help to increase the salary from time to time. Because I remember a man that used to teach around the 80s. He had PLEC, that's degree, and then professional. He used to earn about 420,000. But by the time he was going to retirement, his salary was about 209 something thousand. The slash down of teacher salary at least should come up at the level where they can also increase the salary. While they are increasing the salaries of the government, they should also give the private sector a particular amount of money. For instance, there are schools where teachers earn 20,000. There are private schools where teachers earn 25,000.
Where in cities?
In cities, in this city of Douala,
When
teachers earn 25,000 francs in some primary schools. Now, if the government puts the barem to be at least 40 or 50,000,
the labor code has made a
list
the
list that a teacher.
Apostle, you want government to put the list should be 40,000 in Douala. How do you survive?
No, I'm not saying, you're not getting what I'm saying.
Okay.
I say if the government puts that the list, if they say the list is 40,000, now that they are paying for 25, I've done added 15,000 to it.
The list is
It's an increase.
30-something thousand according to the labor code.
You understand? What I'm saying is that they should upgrade it. If labor code says what is
Why are you not saying that the list should be paid 150,000, Apostle?
If they say the list should be paid 150,000,
These guys are university graduates, eh?
Mr. Leo, if they say the list should be 150,000, then you should be able to get the pupils in that school that will provide that money to pay those teachers.
A primary school in Douala, people pay 200,000 francs.
500.
When you say a primary school in Douala, that is a primary school, not all primary schools. You are trying to take a school to be as a reference to all other schools.
What is it?
There are schools that shouldn't pay 50,000 here in Douala, even 35,000 for school fees. What are you talking?
The average.
So you should pay an average teacher that earns a school is 35,000 for school fees. You pay a teacher for 150,000. For what? Do they print money in that school?
Even the government school that pays 7,000
for their services.
How much do they pay?
At least they pay beyond 50,000 francs. So
they
at
pay
least,
beyond 50,000 is the government.
so if private schools are taking at least 20-something thousand, they should be able to pay at least 100.
No, you are making a very big mistake.
Apostle.
Government school doesn't pay all these taxes that you are talking about.
They
don't pay those taxes. Oh, you don't understand what I'm talking about here. And government has other sources of income where some those providers are leaning solely on those schools to survive. So that's what I have to understand here. I'm talking as a proprietor. I will talk government position, and I will tell the private sector. Where the private sector is failing, I will address it. And not only because I own a school. Where government is failing, I will address it. I've said it in what has killed Cameroon, and I will see it on other programs, is that we have Ambazonians, we have La Republique. We don't have Cameroonians. The two people who are killing this country are La Republique and Ambazonians. We don't want La Republique. We don't want Ambazonia. We want Cameroonians. I'm telling you, and me, I know I'm a Cameroonian. I'm not La Republique. I'm not Amazonia. So it's important for us to understand these things. If I'm talking as a Cameroonian, then I'm talking for the interest of every Cameroonian across this nation. It's the truth. Sometimes these private providers have to smoke their life out to even pay teachers. If they tell their schools are run per year and the provider is not able to make 500,000 as interest, will you believe? With all the huge sums of money they pay to rent the buildings, some of them are running those schools inside. It's costly. Sometimes we can just sit and speak. I'm talking like somebody who's putting on this shoe. So when it comes to government issues, we should treat them differently. Government has many sources of income. How much does the army pay for government to pay them? When you are talking about salary that people pay primary school 7,000 and they are paying one, how much does the army pay for government to pay them? How does government make the money to pay army?
Yeah, but their job, we need security.
We need security now. What income are they generating?
We need security. Without security, the companies will not be able to carry out.
Very correct.
Yes.
I'm not against it. I'm asking that if they are trying to say that they are paying teachers of primary school, government primary school, because they are paying fees 7,000, how much is the military paying for them to be paid? Government has the way of making income.
The military is providing security for these schools to operate. Without security, the schools will not even operate.
Mr. Lou, you are not even getting what I'm saying. Maybe we will go there, we begin to drag ourselves. This man is saying that government primary schools pay 7,000 for fees, and their teachers are paying 130,000. That is to say, because they are paying that small amount of money and they are paying 130,000. So those who are paying 35,000 should pay their teachers 150,000. That's what I'm saying. That you should never compare things like that, because the government has many sources of income.
Where do they
and number two, government does not collect tax from its own schools. It collects tax from private schools.
That's
number three, what source of income does the military generate that they are being paid? So don't even go and compare government with private sector. It's different.
Okay.
And do you know how government even subvents private sectors?
Okay. We are looking at this. We are talking about teachers themselves. The society is not giving them their due respect and position. The private sector that is supposed to be the mirror to reflect the lapses of the government. They are not also doing too well. The government itself has some lapses. We know that the teachers have been striking the last school year, and they were threatening to even strike this year again. But now, can we also fault the teachers themselves? Have they not also played on getting them to where they are today because of the quality of the services they are rendering? Because I know of many teachers in Boya who are highly solicited because of who they are, because of what they carry.
Mr. Leo, like I mentioned earlier, I will say this again. Most individuals who have engaged in teaching engage out of desperation. Some of them were never even trained to become teachers. But because they have been able to learn English, they decided to go and teach English. Maybe they decided to go to a primary school to teach because they have advanced level. They were not trained as teachers. And so such individuals, out of desperation, came into this particular field and have been doing worse than destroying the industry in itself. And so a lot of persons out there have not been formed enough to have the capacity to actually bring up the young minds, to train these young minds. And that is where there is a problem. And so when we look at the direction of these individuals that we call also the private sector, which is supposed to, like you mentioned, be the mirror that reflects on reflects the positive side or maybe the negative sides of the government, has actually joined the play along with the government, and is in one way projecting that education in Cameroon is not supposed to be celebrated, or the teacher is not supposed to have a status, because this is what we can deduce from what the government has shown us and what the private sector has shown us, that the status of a teacher should not be respected. And so you look at it, you realize that, okay, when you listen to Apostle Ambe discussing, he has spoken so profoundly and respectfully concerning teachers, and then he ends up saying that as long as they are teaching in private schools, they should not be given that particular status because because they necessarily, the proprietor needs to have money in order to pay the teacher. I don't think it is the responsibility of a teacher to go look for students or people for a school. His responsibility is to teach. It is true that for the sake of the growth of the school, at times you can have private time to also look for students. If you can do that, that's good. But it's not supposed to be a primary job of that particular student. The proprietor should put every mechanism necessary to bring students to his school. And that's why the publicity is made in every means possible. It's not supposed to be the teacher who is supposed to become a salesperson going around to publicize the school at the same time. So at the end of the day, we are saying that both the government and the public sector have failed in trying to raise the status of the teacher. Because, thank God for Apostle Ambe, he made mention, most of these teachers, these proprietors, they are looking for their money. Because they are involved in their business, they don't care how what they say about the teacher. But they forget one thing. Once you bring in somebody to teach in your school, the image of your school is relies on that particular teacher. So if he is not well paid and well taken care of, what he will produce will reflect on you and your school. So it is very important for these proprietors also to look to the situation of these teachers. If you want them to give out the best, then you should give them the best. Take good care of them and see what they are going to produce. So the same goes to the government. Pay these teachers very well and permit them to do their job. And you end up, you discover that we will respect this profession again. Mr. Leo, you realize that there is this issue of charlatans, which the person who wrote sent. Charlatans are these individuals who came into the field that have been trained. As long as you have not been trained as a teacher, you can't give the best of you. You do not even know in fact, you don't have the strategies on how to teach. You do not even have the understanding on where and how to do it. It is true that they might permit you to attend some seminars to end up understanding how to do it. But teaching is something that comes from within. It is not just a matter of me going to sit in a seminar, learn some few strategies on how to come teach. Giving out knowledge is a passion. And those who get involved in this particular vocation should have the passion for it. They should not just come because they are looking for a job. We are not saying that it should not be a job. It is already a job. It is already a job for many. But people should not just dive into it without training because they need money.
No, they should dive on.
There are other jobs that they can go look for. It's not teaching, because they are the ones who have destroyed the teaching field. They have practically made the teaching field to become useless. When they come in, they don't care about the way the student is taught. They don't care about the way the people are raised. What they are interested about is their money. That is why he has more than 10 different schools going to teach in a day. So when it comes, he's hurrying up to round up a particular syllabus in order to go and catch up somewhere. And so at the end of the day, the students do not get anything. The purpose, and it is very tiring, because when you finish 1, 2, 3, by the time you go to the 5th class or 4th class, you are finished. And you end up pouring rubbish.
Who wants to finish?
Yeah, but
so at the end of the day,
I want us to look at who a teacher is in Cameroon, because that may also be a problem. Because if you have to become a doctor, there is a way and a procedure to becoming a doctor, a lawyer, and many other, an engineer. But seemingly, who is a teacher in Cameroon, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa?
A teacher in Cameroon is someone gone through an institution that is designed by the state to train a teacher to become a professional, because it is a profession. It is not a job. It's not an assignment. It is not a wish. It is not a passion. Teaching is a profession. It has its pedagogies. It has its modus operandi. It has its protocols. That's the reason why even if you go to school and obtain A levels, you go to university and obtain A, you are not considered a teacher. You have to be taken to a teacher's training institute so they teach you the modality of becoming a teacher, making you become professional. At that level, you are not a degree holder. You are somebody who has learned a skill, acquired a skill. That's why even if you have a degree, you must go to ENAM to go and learn administration. That is now making your degree become skillful. So a teacher is somebody who has gone through the professional training to understand the do's and the don'ts, the modalities, and equally the pedagogy when it comes to the issue of teaching. So teaching is not just a passion, it's not just a feeling, it's not just a zeal, it's not just an interest, it is not just, how do I put it, an excitement. It's a profession. Now, government equally has created institutions that train people to become teachers. You are trained. And once you are trained over something, you become skillful. Now, like ENS, we have in Bamenda, it trains teachers for secondary schools. We have Higher Ecole Normale in Yaoundé. It trains teachers for high schools and other parts of other institutions. We equally have ENYEJ. We have KAPIEM, that trains primary school teachers. We have Government Teachers Training College also, GTTC, that trains teachers. When you come up from that institution, in the past, you were just recruited straight to enter into the government. But no, the work is not even available. You can be trained in those institutions and still don't find your way. You have to start working your way out to write an entrance now for integration. Now, you discover that because of the situation in the country, we don't have teachers who go in again anymore because they are passionate about it. People see it as a route of escape from. Others see it as a means to get a magical number that they can take some huge loan, build their houses and stuff at the end of the day. So when you put all these things together, everyone that has gone through a teacher's training college cannot be a teacher. They may have the skill of a teacher, but the zeal of a teacher. They don't have the passion of a teacher. So sometimes they are not going into it because they really want to. They go into it because they are looking for a means of livelihood. Now, the danger in it is this. There are so many persons who do not even have the skill to teach, the passion to teach. They enter into the teaching field only to earn salary and make money, thereby becoming a burden to the students. That's the reason why if you see a passionate and teacher, his impact is felt all over. You say, when you say economics, they call his name. History, they call his name. Geography, they call his name. But there are persons in that same field who are teaching those same subjects, but nobody knows them. As a matter of fact, once they enter into the class, they start sleeping. Some look for means to escape out of the class. Because it also boils down to the person who is the head of those institutions. There was a time that a man from Kupe Maniguba was the head of that year we had many teachers. Another time somebody else became head, we have many people from his community. Now it entered into tribalism. Whether you know how to teach or as your names come from that community, you are being integrated or given the opportunity to go to the school, matriculation number. And once you enter into it, you start teaching. You don't teach because the thing is you. So that's a teacher. A teacher is somebody who first and foremost has a passion, he has a zeal, and then he's the adequate training under a professional institute to deliver maximally based on what they are called to do.
That's right.
So because it's no longer the same again, now coming back to the private sector, there are many persons who were not opportune to be integrated into those professional institutions, but they have the passion and zeal to teach. So here we see where the trouble is. The man that has the skill, the person don't have to go to a professional institute like ENS or Higher Ecole Normale to come out and teach. And somebody who does not have the skill and have no passion, but because looking for an employment and has a godfather, he goes through Higher Ecole Normale and goes to ENS. So he comes back. The ones who are skillful are out there. The ones who are not skillful are into the system. That makes it now more complicated. So I think This is where we have this mix up. Now, when someone comes out and is teaching, for instance, in a private sector, and he has a skill to teach, you will realize that they're too high. Because teaching is not just knowing ABC, it's the ability to make the children respond to what you are teaching. The Ghanaian Minister of Education said, we have people in Africa to just believe what the teacher says. We have not brought up children who can challenge the status quo by asking questions and answers. So, to the person who says, I own a school, I will not speak well on behalf of teachers. For your information, I have nothing against teachers. If you are following this debate, I have been defending teachers and talking about them and trying to give their place in the society, and even calling upon the government to put a barem where they cannot reduce the charge to a salary of 25,000. I don't pay any of my teachers that amount of money. I don't do that. I have passion for human beings. And out of the issue of salary, there are times I step into my teachers' private challenges. Because first of all, I'm a pastor. So if other proprietors don't do it, it's none of my business. But what I'm trying to advocate here is that they should set the salary to a level where at least that should not be reduced to a place where their salary should be 25,000. Some people even earn 20,000. And then your salary for a month to go to work and come back before you realize you have spent all the salary for transport. What is the essence? Please don't misquote me. They say, the other person said, there's a clause that says that you have money and be paying teachers until the school takes steam. Sometimes we preserve that money and the school does not take steam at the expected time. That is it. So we should not throw all the blame on the head of proprietors. As much as they are not 100% right, we are not going to. In the states, the government is not free from the way also they treat teachers.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu and panelists. Mr. Liu, teachers are born and not made, but they could like to ask is that most teachers in the private sector are not trained but produced. That the proprietors, the description they even give, that the proprietors are living in very big houses, they are driving fat cars, but they take very little care of the teachers.
Mr. Leo, it is challenging. That's the country in which we find.
But how do we even turn this around? Where if you can't take care of the teachers, then they should not be there.
That's the issue, but there is always a way out.
Okay.
You see, it is very important for us to know that when we are discussing on these issues, not just because we want to maybe give our opinions. We are trying to talk about an issue that is actually irking our community and our society. And we are looking for the best options on how to fix it. I think if we have to go back, look at how to change the status of a teacher, permit them to receive the pay that they need, then there is need for a new paradigm to be put in place that have a mechanism that permits, first, for the selection of teachers, secondly, for how even the private sector employs teachers, how they are paid, and coming back to the government, bribery and corruption that is practically involved in the entire system should be smashed out. You see, we were I discussed here earlier, and I spoke about a lot of persons have gotten involved in the teaching career without a passion, simply because they were looking for a job. Some of them got into this particular offices or might be career because of the bribe that they paid. Why? They were looking for a matriculation number in order to have what they call job security and to have a fixed salary every month. Their focus was not to come in to teach. That is why it is possible for somebody to be employed as a teacher, government teacher, and then he abandons the school, he goes to the United States, sits there, and his salary is still passing and is being paid. He doesn't care about the children. He cares about the salary. And so, in that case, there is need for a lot of work to be done, you don't get to, you see, for you to be employed as a teacher, or maybe for you to be trained as a teacher, to go through ENS, to go through the government practicing and training schools that we have around, I think that we need to cut out the idea of bribery. We need to watch over bribery and corruption, so that those who are selected are those who have the passion for it. The question is, how do you get to know someone who has a passion for teaching? I think there is a possibility to select such persons existing. You can get to know such individuals by giving them an opportunity to spend some time with individuals to see how they can be possibly transmit knowledge. You can deduce it from their ability to transmit that knowledge, to know whether they are passionate or not before you take them. That is like a pre-test. Then you bring them in for them to go through the training, so that such individuals who come in because they want just a matriculation number and a job security and a permanent salary for the month should be pushed aside. And when that is done, you realize that the right teachers will be selected, who have the passion to teach, who have the right training, and at the end of the day, they'll be able to give out the best. The question now we should be asking is, are they going to be paid well also? So that should be done. So if we have to be able to get to that place where we have the best coming out of our teachers, then we need to adjust a lot of things in the system. That's why I said there's need for a new paradigm. We must put a complete new scheme, a new system that permits for selection of teachers to be based on their passion. You must put a process that permits them to come in to be trained effectively, then deployed into schools, then a salary that permits them to teach well. When that is done, Mr. Leo, I think that at the end of the day, we'll have the best given out. And I think the status of a teacher will be raised again. You see, in 1966, when UNESCO actually decided to put the 5th of October as Teachers' Day, it was based on the fact that they were looking for ways to raise the status of teachers. And we are here talking because we think that the status of teachers in our community and our society have actually, in fact, there is no dignity in being a teacher again. And so the question is, how do we raise this dignity? How do we raise their status? I think that there is need for their salaries to be upgraded. There is need for them to be well trained and given the opportunity for further training continuously. You know, like we said at the beginning of our discussion, a teacher is supposed to be a constant student because we have a problem that today a lecturer that has been, in fact, a teacher has been teaching class 5 for the next 15 years. Somebody will say he has 15 years experience. But somebody told me now they don't have 15 years experience, they have 1 year experience repeated 15 years. So the experience, the first year they use in making the notes that they use in teaching, the rest of the years they keep repeating the same thing. So it seems as if there's no evolution that is taking place. So there is need, Mr. Leo, for us to adjust these things so that we can have the best. Our teachers can give the best to our children. And once that happens, let them also be well paid. Whether it is from the private sector or from the government, they should be well paid. They should be well paid. You see, if the government wants the best from private sectors, then there is need for them also to put a mechanism through which they monitor the way private institutions deal with teachers, how they pay them, how they employ them, what teachers are supposed to be doing. All those things are supposed to be put in place. And I also think that any individual who wants to rush to open a school, there are some requirements which the government has put in front of them. And one of those requirements permits them to have a certain reserve that in a bank or might be somewhere which they use in order to keep running the school, even if the money
don't come before the money start coming. Okay, good evening, Mr. Leo. This topic should be preached well so that our government can wake up. The truth is that teachers' poverty has killed teaching in Cameroon. How can a teacher with one pair shoe every day in school teach a student to understand? What would a student admire about the teacher that can influence him to learn? So it's really a sad situation in this country. Alan is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Tell Prof that it is the right of the teacher to go for students. Raymond Yancho is writing from where? Good evening, Mr. Liu. Thanks so much for the program, Mr. Liu. Apostle Ambe said something about the offices of SDOs as compared to staff room. Mr. Liu, it's a pity that teachers are not respected. Staff rooms for teachers today don't have even a wall clock for teachers to look for time. I usually ask whether a staff room in Mungo division especially cannot have a television for teachers to be informed. Sumbele Kelvin, writing from Kong Samba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I think there are two fields that government should stop bribe completely, teaching and medical field. Those that bribe their way into the fields are the ones killing this sector. You will see a teacher who cannot even enter an examination class from 5 and upper seat. They run away from examination classes. If government must take bribe, let them do it in schools like Enam. Desmond, writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Most of the institutions that pay low salaries to teachers are mission schools, believing that they are members of the church. Agbo, writing from Mamfe. Good evening, Mr. Leo and panelists. Thank you all for the wonderful points you are raising. It's really a shame in this country. Teachers earning 25,000, 30,000 francs in private sectors, especially in our renowned so-called mission schools in Cameroon. Please let the powers that be, in the name of God, try and ameliorate the situation. Thank you. God bless you all. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. Now, when a teacher is paid 40, 50, 60,000 francs in a town like Yaoundé and Douala, now they're expected to dress and they're expected to
transport themselves.
Yes. How do you even inspire children to be teachers tomorrow when they know and see and experience what their teachers are living?
Well, like I said, Mr. Liu, all other professions have had their ups and downs, but it has not stopped people from entering into it. I thought I would never be a pastor because every pastor I saw was in a sorry state. But for me to come out tomorrow and become a pastor it still remains a mystery, because every pastor I saw in my day pointed straight to poverty. Nevertheless, the passion for and the call finally brought me to it. There is no field in life that you would definitely see everybody in that field succeeding. So people are not going to the teaching field because they're really going there to make money. Some of them are going there because of the passion they have for the vocation, for the profession. And I think that's why some people are even into it till date. Because if you want to go and ascertain most of the government and the private sector, there's no money in teaching. I have seen many government retired teachers who don't have roofs over their head. They are still renting. Then talk about the private sector. So the truth is, when you see somebody doing the teaching work, it's passion. Those who go there to make money are the people who come to destroy the profession, because they will want to start creating other means of making money in the profession by squeezing the children and trying to force them to pay bills that they are not supposed to pay. And it goes back to let us understand that no matter how critical a fee may be, military people are dying every day, yet people are being recruited. Police people sometimes are dying, yet you see posts being recruited. Why is the fear of death not on those who are still to enter gendarme, police and army? Is passion. Sometimes not only passion, sometimes desperation. Somebody will believe that a bird in the hand worth 2 in the bush. A bird in the hand worth 2 in the bush. That 40,000 francs per month is better off than staying without a kobo anywhere. Going back to the entire economy, the economy has melted to a level where sometimes 25,000 francs salary as a security guard per month is the only way out. So sometimes we don't go into profession because we want to look for the salary. Two things may take us there. Passion. Number two, desperation.
Yes, but you say passion. Is this issue not of this issue of passion, not what has killed the profession?
It cannot kill.
Yeah, because you say, okay, whether they pay you 20,000 because of the passion, you have to go. Why don't you people work to place a barem so that this is a noble profession?
We are working on that, Mr. Lu. The truth is, we are trying to limit the benefit of a teacher to salary. No.
The benefit should come from where?
There are people who have taught pupils or students, and those students turn out tomorrow to be a blessing to them. Let us look at the big picture.
Apostle.
Let's not just, no, I'm telling you the truth. I have a young man in my church right now.
Yes.
Let me give you a testimony.
Okay.
The father taught a guy who traveled to Finland. And the guy sat and said, what will he do to reward this man who taught in primary school? The father is dead and gone. Now the guy is making the documents of this young man to come up and better off the life of the family.
But that's
now,
a rare case.
No, it's not a rare case. President Paul built a house for his primary school teacher.
Children don't even take care of their parents. You are talking of teachers.
I'm talking about President Paul built primary school for his teacher, primary school teacher in Ewane. The issue is this: we sometimes are too materialistic, self-centered, and egoistic. That's the truth. You are not teaching sometimes because if it is salary right from the government, you're supposed to look at if the government salary is even better. It's not better. It's not. From the government right down to the private sector, if you are looking for money in the preaching profession, don't just enter. As a matter of fact, this is my counsel to you. Don't go you to teaching. If you are looking for money from government to private in this Cameroon, you won't get it. You will not. If you are going for teaching in this Cameroon because of money, pack out. From the private sector to the government sector, pack out. But if you are going there because you know that it's a passion, you want to help humanity tomorrow, my friend, not every job we do in this life is to make money out of it. There are some jobs we do because we want to contribute to humanity. I've seen people have given voluntary services in certain places. A girl was talking here 2 days ago in the house. She said when she graduated from the university as a journalist, she gave voluntary service. Mr. Lo, you are now known as a very prominent journalist across the globe. You didn't start with a salary. The passion for this job gave you to do voluntary services. And if you are even doing journalism because of salary today, you won't do it. It's a passion. So let us not hang on that salary thing. Do you know how many persons have blessed you out of your salary from the journalism that you are helping educate Cameroon? No, people should not hang on that thing. It's not. Mr. Lo, you know what I'm talking about. No, somebody can get out tomorrow.
What Apostle Ambe is saying is the truth. I for one, yes, but it should not be the rule.
It's not a rule.
I for one, when we started High TV, we worked for, there was nothing like salary.
Okay.
It was just for the passion. Yes, but Apostle,
as the days are going by,
yes.
I want to ask one question.
Have
you not been blessed by somebody who saw your contribution to the nation more than your salary here? Let us not limit the job only to the salary thing. We are trying to kill this thing.
Yeah, but
because it should not be because they are engaging with a passion that even the government or the private sector should downplay their salary. They should be paid the same way others are paid. I think that when you look at those who are trained to be doctors, I mean medical doctors, they have a protocol, and when they follow this protocol, they end up, there is a particular salary they pay these guys for them to do their job, even if they are engaging with a passion. So it should be the same in every field. The teaching field should be even more honored because it is a field where individuals spend their time preparing themselves to transform minds and change communities. And if that is not enough, I think that those proprietors who think that these individuals are slaves, because some of them are treated like slaves, Mr. Leo, where a teacher spends his time and teaches, he has done service for the institution, then you want to pay a salary, you are behaving as if he's begging for it. That's a crime in itself. So I think that we are simply saying that most of our proprietors should be humane in their approach to treating these teachers that they employ in their institutions. If the government has not done what was supposed to be done, let the private institutions do what. Neither should we treat them like beggars. Because I've seen a lot of teachers, especially in primary schools, underlooked, maltreated. Some of them are used as if they are slaves. That is not supposed to be in the 21st century, when we are struggling to revolutionize education and create a platform that permits our continent, or let me be particular with Cameroon, our nation, to be changed, transformed. That transformation comes when these teachers have been well taken care of. They take their time to drill your children, to educate them the right way. And when they do that, at the end of the day, you will celebrate it.
Okay.
So I think our proprietors, as well as the government, should look into this issue and give the environment, create the right environment for teachers to give their best.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. I think there are two fields, okay? Good evening, Mr. Leo. You pay most, okay? Good evening, Mr. Leo, panelists. Kudos to the great work you are doing there. The way forward is for the teachers to massively join politics and be elected into the parliament and vote laws that can change their status. Tina is writing from Tico. Get well soon. Tina, good evening, sir. Writing from Bamenda, do university lecturers go for training school? A true teacher is born. Priest A is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I love your program. Please let teachers should stop selling books for high prices. I'm King Perry writing from Boya. Good evening and happy Teachers Day to all the teachers. After bringing good points and expecting the government to act on it, it could have been more good. Some prayers, declarations should be made at the end of the program, even for 1 minute or more. It will help to facilitate our expectations. Thanks, always having the best program. Prophet Gift is writing from Yaoundé. Prophet Gift, you can make those declarations in Yaoundé and we will establish them here and we say amen to it. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I think the government should do much when it comes to salaries. The private sector too is just worst. While the private school teach more than government schools, let the government put down laws to protect the teachers. It's Auntie Lucy writing from where? Good evening, Mr. Liu. There is a barem for payment of salaries both for private and public sectors. The private sector does not respect it with complicity with the delegates of labor. Mr. Amphi is writing from Boya. Thank you very much, Mr. Amphi. Now, this score, as we speak, also, we may be talking about the salaries, undermining the value that is accorded to it. It is very, very demanding, Apostle Ambe.
Yes, it's very demanding.
Yes.
Of course.
The teaching profession is very demanding.
It is very, very demanding. I said it here that when you do teaching work, you might not be able to do something else. You leave as early as 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning, and you are back by 2:30. You know, you have to start preparing lessons for the next day. That's 5 days per week. It's demanding, and talking is very, very difficult than just clearing. 1 hour talking is equivalent to 8 hours clearing. Now a teacher spends 8 hours a day talking. They are exhausted. Sometimes most of them have migraine, headache, and the rest. Then with the hula ballo, the pandemonium that takes place in school campuses every day, and the exposure to some miscreants who have also been graduates in school, children carrying screwdrivers and knives and tramadol. The risk of the job also is one other complicated aspect of the teaching profession that we have never even mentioned here. Teachers are confronted by students sometimes. They are fought in schools, they are beaten, some of them are even killed because of the profession. It has a risk. And then now you discover that it's a teacher 5 days a week. Monday to Friday, you are there, except in some government schools where teachers have the 2-3 lessons per week. It comes on Monday and then it comes on Wednesday, that's all. That one is even better. The private schools, you are there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's demanding. Then you have to go as a teacher, you are constantly a student. You must constantly be studying to upgrade yourself. If not, you can be challenged one day in class by your own student. And if they ridicule you as a professional, you must be able to answer all the questions that come your way because everyone knows you know everything. But that's not the truth. Teachers don't know everything. They don't. So it keeps you on a constant study position. That is also stressful. Then you come sometimes and you are even talking children and making noise in the class. You are trying to correct them and you are trying to give notes. You are in between trying to settle scores in the class. Their work is very, very demanding. That's the reason why I said there are some offices in this country that we are giving them too much honor without seeing what they are doing. A headmistress of a primary school was supposed to have been going to school with an escort. A well-furnished office with AC, television, fridge and fruits inside. Why not even a protocol? Because the job is a noble profession. If we attach such respect and dignity behind that job, we are going to be looking teachers the same as governors. The reason why we consider governors as big, SDOs big, DOs big, it wasn't because we had the name. It is the honor that has been attached to their office. The dignity, the decorum, the protocol attached to their office gives them automatic respect. When you see a teacher is strolling to school with a student, some students even ride bike to school. Some teachers don't have bike to go to school. Students drive cars to school. Teachers don't have cars. Has been at university, a lecturer is going to school without a car, and a student is driving a car into that university. What do you expect? What do you expect? The only thing they will respect you is the knowledge you can give them in class. Out of that, the social interaction, they will not consider you. They can even treat you as a colleague. But when a DO is coming, you see gendarme ahead, police behind. Automatically, you know that this man is big man. Or a governor is putting there are sirens everywhere. That governor is a name. That SDO is a name. The DO is a name. It is a protocol attached to the office. Let me say in the next 5 years, we make principals have the same honor, dignity, and decorum that DOs and governors have. If you will not see people will start getting intimidated when principals come. Why do students even sometimes insult principals and slap them? Because the principal does not look different from the student. The principal does not have a kind of dignity around. At least even if you are not going to give them cars to drive, give them one police officer who is 2V. That can walk in and walk out, open the door. That little respect attached to it when a principal speaks. I now see why there is high-level violence in schools. Because the authorities do not even have the protocol that even makes their voice to be heard. That's the reason why a discipline master is being beaten in schools. Teachers are pierced with knives. Others are beaten by students. There's no difference because the difference between a teacher and a student is just a uniform. Yeah. It's a uniform. Some teachers even go to the dining shed in the afternoon and buy gâteau with students and Yahoo. They buy gâteau. The student is eating rice in the canteen. Teacher is eating rice. The teacher is eating yogurt. The student is eating yogurt and gâteau. Teacher is biting at that end. Student is biting at this end. So what do you expect the children to look at the teacher? There is no dignity. The only thing that makes the teacher relevant is that he is putting on colored dress. The teacher is putting on uniform. Then he goes to class and teach. After that, when they leave the school, they are coming outside. Teacher sometimes is holding Fanta, and the student also is holding Fanta. They are crossing again. Say, Mets, how far? Mets, how far? That reduces a teacher. A teacher is a student for life. He said, let us attach some decorum to that office. Give some level of dignity to that office, some respect. At least. It is true that some women who are teachers are married to some rich men. They drive their cars to the school campus. Their children are afraid of those particular teachers because they drove a car, not because they are teachers. So you see, Madame Quenty, no play here, in Massa, a rich man. You need to see the kind of Timoto. Children will respect everywhere you go on a people respect resort. Even in the school campus. There are children, teachers who are wearing sandals. Children have given their name on that sandals. I had a child who had one sandal called Pangelu, who gave him a name because of that sandals. There's a particular dress a child will dress, children will give him name. Can you give Dio name? Can you give governor a name? Or can you give even a commissioner of police name? They will lock you in the morning, afternoon, evening. But teacher is there. He's holding chalk. And then he has one hairstyle. They call him Shalaman. Teachers have earned all kinds of names from children because they look like the children. Mr. Alio, I'm angry. I'm angry.
Well, good evening, sirs. In the house, I think that the main cause of this negligence on teachers is because of lack of jobs. Imagine 3,000 students graduating from universities and no jobs. Everybody is running to the teaching field. So at the end of the day, if 2,500 is offered and you refuse, the next who is ready for the job will be taken. So let's employ the youth. Tanto Rogesien Chila, writing from Bomenda Malfonkwen. Good evening to the man of God in the studio and to you all. Teachers' situation in Cameroon are even more better as compared to medical field, in which they are trained to save lives, and above all, teachers are enhancing the physical needs of the clients. Still yet, medical personnel have no salary. Frank is writing from Tarikun. Mr. Liu, as apostle, what they do with the grants from the government? Yeah, but those grants are so small now. What would you? How much do they receive? Mr. Liu. Mr. Leo, good evening to you people in the studio. I'm Goran Edward in Bamenda. I admit Prophet Ambe is right when he said salaries are not the problem. Have you ever noticed that the more money you are given, the more your spending increases? How do you explain that someone is paid 30K and another is paid 200K still survive in their monthly payments? They buy from the same markets, eat almost the same kind of food. What we need most is financial IQ. Please, Mr. Leo, apostles should know that take away passion in teachers, pay rent, and other bills. Okay? Malam Amadou is writing from my 4 Limbe. Good evening, sir. I'm Rolling from Tico. I stand for the person who talked about the textbook. Teachers sell it to exercise. Okay? Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm Rene from Yaoundé. Teachers have a right to have the best salary because everything we do today comes from teachers, and most of them are not being well paid. A student pays fees for 80,000 francs, but a teacher is only 40K, and there are more than 60 pupils in a class. Good evening, Mr. Liu, an intelligent panelist. Cameroon is the only country in the world where teachers are dragged and disgraced by students, talk less of some parents and hierarchies. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The irony in it all is that teachers in private sector produce best results and are paid peanut salary, while those of the public sector take mega salaries, but results are not there. Ms. Sumbe is writing from Yaoundé, God help Cameroon. Now, this issue of teachers being disgraced, is it not also because of that perception, like you were saying? You find just a child that is beaten in a school and the parent comes out, I want to see this teacher who had the guts to. Yes, and this also ridicules the teachers in front of the students. The students think that teachers are their servants or their slaves here. They don't look at teachers like persons. Yes.
You see, Mr. Leo, I don't think it's only the idea of parents coming to beat or maybe underlook teachers. It also has to do with the whole idea of the human right whatsoever that has been brought into schools, where today you are told that the student has this and that right, and they should not punish students anymore or people anymore. At the end of the day, there is no fear. What's being it? Teachers are not well paid. They are shot. Like you look at them, tattered, in fact, dirty everywhere. At the end of the day, wearing one and the same shoe and one and the same dress every day coming to school. Students, especially in secondary school, underlook them. Why? That still falls on the floor of salary. And when you look, what's of it if parent comes to school because maybe a teacher spoke to a student or punished the student, the teacher, the parent comes and kind of disrespect the teacher in his place of work. That is very humiliating. And that is something that we have seen rampant in Cameroon. The reason falls back on the point that teachers are not valued. And why are they not valued? That is a question we have been asking and answering here. Why are teachers not valued? We have seen that one of the reasons why they are not valued, it has to do primarily with the fact that the government slashed down salaries in the past and permitted teachers to become beggars in schools. The next aspect of it is that some of these teachers are undervalued because most of those who engage in teaching do not come into it because they actually want to teach, but because they are looking for a means to live. And so the idea of them being seen as desperate permits them to be degraded and underlooked, undervalued. And once a person can be able to define your salary, such a person has control over your life. And that is where we are. This issue is really, really troubling because you see a teacher who is supposed to be looked upon like a demigod in a classroom or in a school. Even a student has the boldness to get up and insult him and leave. I think in our days in school, we never saw that because we were seeing teachers with a different eye. Mr. Leo, I never went through primary school seeing young people in schools. I used to see, in fact, I should say I was one of the most smallest in school in my time. You see giants, you see people of more than 14 to 15 years in class 3, class 4. So it is very funny. So this issue also has something to do. But the question is, how were these big boys handled by their teachers? We see hard punishment being given to students in school. We never saw a parent coming to school to come and intimidate a teacher. They were respected for being those who were transforming the minds of their children. And apart from that, the government was paying them very well. So it permitted them to do their job with a degree of love, a degree of passion. And as a result of that, they brought out the best. But what is happening today? We are having a society where more students leave school, more graduates come out from schools, but little productivity. Why is there little productivity? As long as a pastor, you hear Apostle Ambe and I will say this statement: any anointing you do not respect cannot prosper your life. So there is no possibility for you to underlook a teacher and then you come up tomorrow and be better. So when you look into it, you realize that in the past, the few that went to school came out and were better up. They were given the best of education, because their teachers were well treated, well paid. But when you come to today's academic situation, we have more students leaving schools. We believe that more minds have been transformed. We have a lot of graduates coming out every year from school, but they are the ones that go around looking for jobs. I think, and I'll come back to this, to say education is supposed to be a means through which individuals are transformed to become job creators, not job seekers.
Mr. Leo, Apostle Ambe has a big head. He deserves to head a ministry. Even God knows this. God bless you guys. Alex is writing from Boya. Most of our institutions were inherited from those who colonized our continent. Some years ago, when our forefathers inherited these institutions, they continued with the same treatment on their own citizens, just like the whites. Good evening, Mr. Leo and the panelists. When I watch a prof talking, I remember one of my history teachers in high school. He was totally against an A-level student looking for a job after school, that because he or she is not trained, qualified to be a teacher. He made us to understand that as a teacher, you don't teach a subject, but you teach students. Joshua writing from Fumbot. Good evening to all the panelists in the studio. Most of these teachers are really sacrificing for the government only because of their passion we are talking about, but the passion is gradually dying down because a teacher will be trained in English, and after graduation the government will post you in a purely French school to go and teach in French. I'm Rose Tan writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. If the school's owners can just use 9 children in each class school fees to pay their teachers, I think it will help them, because you see a school a child is paying school fees for 120,000 francs and they are paying his teacher 40,000 francs. It's not good at all. Carlson is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Leo. The issue of teachers and students' relationship today is a champion. I don't know, you should take note of that, Apostle, because you react to that. In our days, when you see your student coming, you will hide from him. Now, students ask their teacher how far, and some could even fight with some of them, and parents intervene to beat up some teachers. It's a shame to the state of Cameroon for neglecting our teachers. Simo is writing from Tico. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. I think the problem of most teachers, especially government school teachers, is a problem of time management for the teachers in Cameroon today. We really need security posts in schools today. It's really serious. Students are the ones deciding on the pace at which schools should function. It's terrible, Apostle. Yes, we see these videos even from the first day of school where a student will practically tell you, don't touch. A